There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
I absolutely love that song. Although in this episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of it being a man that's been rich and been poor, in this episode, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a woman that's been rich. She's been poor, but she chooses rich every single time. And I am beyond excited for today's episode because not only is it an energy-rich episode, guys, but you are absolutely in for a treat. With me today is the one and only Sahar Pugh. I didn't want to get it wrong. Welcome.
Right.
I am so excited for you
Thank
to be
you.
on the show today.
Honored to be here. Honored to be in the essence of you.
Likewise. If you guys don't know Sahar, you're going to get to know her. You're going to be able to feel her energy over the camera. You're going to be able to feel her energy through the speakers of wherever you are listening to this podcast. I met Sahar 2 years ago.
I think more than that.
3 years ago. She complimented my shoes at the gym. Long story short, she happened to be a really good buddy of mine, Kevin Sturdivant's attorney. I reached out to Kevin like not only a day before, and he goes, "Oh, you got to get connected with Sahar." Little that I knew, the girl who complimented the shoes was Sahar. So it was so crazy.
I didn't know that story.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, you came up. I was wearing bright red shoes, and you were like, "I love those shoes." And then it connected. I was like, "Wait a minute, I think that's." Then I contacted Kevin, and he's like, "Yeah, that's her." And then that's when I reached out to you for your services.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
how cool.
So I'm Kevin's lawyer. I'm your lawyer. I love
worked
it.
out.
Lucky me.
So for the audience, who is Sahar?
Ooh, who is Sahar? And just like I did in my questionnaire, I'm really conscientious about what follows I am.
I love it.
Because I truly believe that whatever follows I am comes chasing you. And so with that, I caveat it. I am so many things, and it's ever-changing. Who is Sahar? So Sahar, she's Persian, she's a mom, she's a single mom, she's a lawyer, she's obsessed with wellness, she's a spiritual junkie, but not an extremist in any way.
Love it.
Definitely a wannabe monk without the extremity of it. A little bit of a fitness junkie.
Yes.
A food junkie. Sahar's a lot of things.
I love it.
Yeah.
And what does Sahar do for a living?
I am a lawyer. Yeah, I'm a corporate lawyer. So I have the luxury of being intricately involved in my clients' day-to-day infrastructures.
I love it.
So I spent probably the first 14 years of my practice litigating,
Okay.
aggressively litigating. And then I would say the last 6 to 7 years migrated into transactional corporate work, which is a passion of mine. Litigation gave me the background to get really like nitty gritty with the arguments and the way written documents can really become the basis of so much turmoil between partners, between entities. Gave me quite an advantage being a corporate lawyer now, doing transactional work, because now I get to draft the documents, knowing what gets litigated. So everything sort of happens for a reason, and the migration was pretty natural.
That is awesome. And for those people that may not know exactly what a corporate lawyer is, what exactly is a corporate lawyer?
Such a good question. So a corporate lawyer can mean different things to different lawyers. For me, it is the representation of clients anywhere from like a startup to a highly established, long-standing corporation. We do HR stuff, employment stuff, corporate formation, taxations, mergers, acquisitions, counseling, guidance, navigating the ins and outs of all things business.
Love it.
So for me, corporate law is the bubble of business, and being able to be largely impactful for my clients from a advisory role, I would say. And when it enters litigation, there we are.
So you also do real estate law, right? So is that all, what exactly? So corporate attorney, does that fall into multiple different businesses?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've got construction clients. I've got coffee houses. I've got medical doctors.
Oh, wow.
I've got medical groups. I've got my clients are a wide range of creative business people.
I love that.
And where real estate comes into play is when I was a litigator, I represented developers, real estate developers. And so real estate litigation, some construction work, construction defect litigation, insurance work, stuff like that. And then the way it migrated into representing brokers, brokerages, and agents was from a contractual basis, you know better than anyone else, how pivotal words are and representations, disclosures. And so with my broker clients and my agent clients that I've got quite an established practice, I'm basically an advisor. I help fine-tune agreements whenever they hit a wall with something really unique. They call Sahar, and we roll up our sleeves and we're in it.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
You come through every time.
Yeah, thank you. I hope to.
And there's a lot of real estate agents and entrepreneurs that watch this show. So you guys, this is my personal attorney. I go to Sahar whenever I'm stuck in a situation. She somehow gets me out of it. How do they contact you? I know we're going to go through this at the end, but for those of you that, may ask for her contact now, what would be an easy way to contact you?
So you can find me on the internet, of course. I'm affiliated with a larger firm in Los Angeles, but I do run my own practice like a boutique firm. Awesome. Best way is to call my cell phone, honestly.
I love it.
Yeah.
You want to give that number out?
Sure. 949-547-7711.
Awesome. And only contact her if you have a case, okay? If you're contacting her, go to dinner.
Yeah, save it.
I'm just kidding. So you've built this beautiful practice, and you have how many locations? Where are you guys out of?
So we've got the Fashion Island office, which
Okay.
is a direct affiliate with the LA office.
Okay.
And then I've got the Irvine Spectrum office, which is a direct affiliate with one of my larger clients. So we kind of sort of grouped and paired together to create a totally different type of practice, which is based in wellness and a different niche, which you and I haven't even discussed yet. But
How cool is that?
yeah,
That's all. And
it's amazing.
so you talk about you being a corporate attorney. You've done some amazing things in your career. I'm assuming you didn't just wake up from high school one day and boom, you're this rock star attorney. How did this happen? Let's go all the way back to the baby Sahar, right?
Yeah.
How did we get to where we are? And let's go all the way back. I know the viewers would love to hear that.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so I was born in Iran.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Born
I
in
didn't know
Iran,
that.
right on the cusp of the revolution where the Islamic regime was taking over. And my mother and my father had my sister, who's 15 months older, and then they had little Sahar. And the very Western Iran was turning into a very oppressed, Islamically taken over regime of the Ayatollah. And the Shah was being overturned. And my father and my mom, they are not Muslim. And so we were a very oppressed minority. We were Baha'i, or we are Baha'i. They are Baha'i. I don't ascribe to a religion, and we'll get into that. But my parents are very astute Baha'is. And my father, 21 years old at the time, God bless him, incredible, decided, I've got 2 daughters and a wife, and there is no conceivable way that I'm raising these 2 girls in an Islamic regime. We're getting out. And they were one of the last airplanes to leave Iran under the guise of a religious asylum. They left Iran with the equivalent of $200 in their pocket, knowing no language other than Farsi, 2 kids, baby diapers, and they went to Europe for about 6 months until they could connect with my dad's sister, who was living in LA at the time. And my dad literally went like that on a map and was like, all right, we'll land here. And where did we land? South Central LA.
No.
Yep. So a wife, 2 little girls, no English, leaves, jumps into South Central LA. Here we are, extremely poor. And at that time, Iranians were like modern day, just the minorities of the minorities. We were black for all intents and purposes, and treated equivalent to the way very ignorant people would treat minorities at the time.
Minorities.
And my mom and dad's ignorance, you know how they say ignorance is bliss. Their ignorance really, really catapulted them into a place of resilience. They had no idea. They were living in like Compton. They were like, oh, this is great. It's sunny here. Like, what is this place? And my dad worked 16 hours a day pumping gas. Wow. My mom had these 2 little girls. And so fast forward, my dad worked for the post office as a government worker with pride. And my mom started to go to school to become an LVN, which is a step down from a registered nurse. Right. Because they were both in medical school in Iran before they left, or aspiring to be in medical school. And they just worked their asses off and raised 2 latchkey kids. And my dad was like, Sahar, you're going to be a lawyer. And my entire existence was, how do I make this man proud? And so he said, you're going to be a lawyer. And okay, yeah, well, here we go. I'm going to be a lawyer. And that essentially planted the seed, which created this is my path. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm extremely disciplined. I'm just going to use it to my advantage. Daddy says, be a lawyer. This is what we're going to do. We're going to be a lawyer. My dad made sacrifices. Believe me, he let us know that he did. We're going to make him proud, and this is what we're going to do. So my whole focus was knowing nothing about law, of course, but I'm going to be a lawyer. And so it was tunnel vision to the max, and I rushed through everything conceivably possible in life, from like my adolescence, because my sister and I were latchkey kids. My mom and dad worked like 2 jobs at a time, and we raised each other and raised ourselves so my parents could work and provide for us. My dad slowly started to invest in real estate, made money, but we grew up quite poor. So then high school came. Again, I'm going to be a lawyer. I went to college, found a program that had like an accelerated honors program. I did a 4-year program in 2.5 years, went straight to law school, graduated at like 22 and a half years old, and I was a full-blown lawyer by 23.
Oh, that is an awesome story. Yeah. So your sister that I see at the gym, there was you 2.
Yes.
She's how much? She's the older one?
Yeah, she's 15 months older. She's 45. I'm 44.
So it's you 2.
Yes.
No English.
No English.
Moved to not just LA. Right. You moved to Compton.
Yes.
And this is the 80s?
This is the 80s.
And this is when, because my parents lived in South Central at the time, I've heard stories, right? Yeah. Unless you were white, it was very difficult in Compton, Inglewood, and that whole corridor, right? You went to school out there?
I did. I'll tell you a funny story. When my dad made a little bit of money, we advanced to Hawaiian Gardens, which was a step up for us. Whereas now, like, I wouldn't walk my dog
in Hawaiian Gardens.
But as kids, like, that's where it was like progressive leveling up.
Wow. I did not know that. First generation. So your parents spoke no English.
Nothing.
And found a way to make it happen.
Absolutely. And didn't know that there was a thing called welfare or government assistance. In fact, when the government would reach out to them, they were like, don't accept nothing, because they were so scared about where they had come from, that they were like, take nothing, you're going to have to pay it back. Like, they had absolutely zero help. Zero help.
Oh, wow. How inspiring is that?
Yeah.
And then your dad takes what he's earning and invests into real estate.
Yes.
What was he buying?
He was buying homes in Victorville at like $70,000 a pop. And his portfolio grew to 41 homes, which he still has 16. And they paved the way for a life-changing experience for him.
I freaking love that. How awesome is that?
He put kids through, law school and college, and my brother through college, all through his investments.
Wow. Your brother, Saba, by the way, you're a beautiful human being.
Yeah,
Where's your sister? Your sister is a beautiful human being. I love seeing all 3 of you guys.
Thank you.
Your brother's how much younger?
13 years younger.
So he's 13. So you guys were in Hawaiian Gardens when he?
We had moved to Cypress, California.
Cypress, okay.
Again, we leveled up.
Yeah, I love that. How cool. So Compton, Hawaiian Gardens,
Cypress, and then Huntington Beach.
and then Huntington Beach.
Yes, there you go.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And is your dad still invested in real estate now?
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, he's retired, but real estate's his bread and butter.
It's his bread and butter.
It's everything.
That is so cool. Did he stay in? So I know he worked at the post
For
office,
32 years.
and he stood there until he retired. Until he quote unquote retired.
He was the only mailman who drove a 7 Series BMW.
That is freaking awesome.
Yes.
I love that. So as he was still investing in real estate, he's working here. And wow, how incredible.
Proudly serving his government. Like proudly. My dad is a proud American.
How cool is that? Your
Yeah.
mom became an LVN?
Yes, she became an LVN, delivered babies, worked for an OBGYN for 20 plus years and raised her daughters. And then Saba, when Saba came along, Nassim and I raised him because he was like my first experience as a mom. My mom was still working and I was 13 years old and had this little brother. And I would take him to high school with me in a baby Bjorn.
No.
And people thought I was a young mom.
Oh, that explains a lot. How
Yeah,
cool is that?
He's the love of my life.
That is so awesome.
For sure. He's like my first child.
Oh, I just get to love you guys more and more as I hear this story. So you rapid fire through law school.
Rapid fire.
You're 23 years old. You got out,
Yep.
which is probably one of the youngest,
Yes,
right?
yes.
What happened from there?
What happened from there? So I started my litigation practice as an associate with my first job was at a female-run law firm, Palumbo Bergstrom. 2 women, amazing lawyers who ran this enterprise of a firm. And I started to learn the ins and outs of things that I wanted to do, things I didn't want to do. And I only bumped around a few times within firms. I went from that firm after, I think, 4 years to another firm, which was, again, like a leveling up, essentially. It wasn't necessarily a lateral move. The same form of litigation, but more in real estate and also construction. And then my move from that firm to another firm called Wolf and Wyman was where everything changed for me. I worked alongside a partner who really invested in me as a human and threw so many beautiful opportunities at me that allowed me to really expand and just come into my own. And I had some really amazing experiences just, developing my skills and marketing and all that. And my partner now was my opponent.
No way.
Yeah.
That was your direct competitor at the time?
Yeah.
How cool is
Yeah,
that?
who heavily recruited me. And from there, I've been here.
Wow. So you go into litigation. You're in litigation how long? How many years?
14 years.
14 years. And then from there, you lateral over to the company you're with now.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I forget
Yeah,
the
it's
name.
Milstein, Jackson, Fairchild, and Wade.
Milstein Jackson.
But I'm of counsel with them, so I have semi-full autonomy to do my own thing. So I'm almost like a solo, but not really. But I am. I've got the best of both worlds. I mean,
Right.
it's the best structure you could imagine because it offers me full autonomy to just do my own thing, but with the protection of a firm.
Right. As you were climbing the lawyer ladder, as you would call it, what were some tribulations, some maybe call it roadblocks that could have stopped you? Or was there anything that, like a massive learning curve that you had to go through those 14 years? Was there anything that played a role there?
So many things played a role. My hardest bosses really paved the way for me to learn how to read a room. It's one thing to learn how to read a room as a lawyer. Most lawyers can do that, right? Most should know how to do that.
Right.
But learning the political components of being within a law firm and knowing when to open your mouth and when to listen. I got criticized by the second firm that I was at. There was a partner there who was very uptight. And if I laughed, it offended him. If the clients liked me, it irked him. Everyone was a threat. And here I was, this young Persian, very boisterous, enthusiastic, outspoken girl
Right.
that triggered every component of everything he is. And there was one day where we were in the kitchen area, and I finally just asked him, and I said, hey, why don't you like me? And he was holding a cup of coffee in his hand, and it was like halfway, right at the halfway mark. And he threw the cup at me, and coffee just went all over me. And I was pregnant at the time. It went all over me, and he goes, you fucking laugh way too much.
What?
Yeah, and I just stood there, and I was like, this is interesting, because I wanted to take the cup and just like smash it over his head.
Right.
But instead I looked at him and I thought, I don't know what came over me. And I thought, I'm so sad for you.
Wow.
I'm actually really sad for you.
Right.
You know? And everything happens for a reason. Like those moments are gifts.
100%.
Because I walked away going, I'm out of here. And I am out of here fast, not because you're pushing me away, but because I'm just too good for this place.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like my energy and your energy don't align. Your name's on the door, mine isn't. Like I know my place. It's all good.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm out of here. And called my recruiter, and my recruiter was like, oh, I've got like 4 interviews lined up for you. And I had my sights set on the other firm, which was energetically so aligned with everything about me from where it was located. And then the first couple meetings that we had with the main partner, who I told you really, supported me in the advancement of my career. It was a very natural, like, okay, I've paid my dues, now I'm supposed to go here type of thing. But I'm grateful for those moments, because you learn about how people who are self-unaware to some degree, we all are, including myself, can allow their own demons to truly you just project the shit out of it onto other people. And in those moments, you can allow it to do several things. You can allow it to truly hinder you and make you go, I really suck as a person, and let me dim my light and stop laughing, or compassionately look at them and go, I'm super sorry for you.
Yeah.
And thankfully I was like, I'm pretty sorry for you. Yeah. Now, at that firm, it was obviously a male-dominated firm, and it was very much a boys' club. And I'm okay with that, because I credit my success to the support of some angelic human beings, all of which are in the form of men.
Right.
I love my male counterparts, and I find us to be equals. I see no differences. I'm very much in my feminine, but super grateful for the men in my life. And I say this to my sister all the time. God gave me angels in the form of men. So that being said,
awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I'm really grateful, and I just can't say enough about that. But I digress. Where was I going with this?
We were talking about the how sometimes getting thrown coffee at you could be the greatest gift.
Oh, I was going to say, so I'm in this boys' club of a firm, and now I'm a new mom. I have a baby, Sasha, my first daughter, my daughter. And you're at a firm where optics, they use the word optics, my least favorite word. Optics are everything. So when you came, when you went, and again, just like I zipped through college and zipped through everything, like I could do 12 hours of work in 6 hours. I could do 8 hours of work in 3.
Right.
I've always been that way.
Right.
Always.
Highly
always.
efficient.
Highly efficient. Highly. But I had to play the game of everyone's here at 8 and everyone stays till 4. Now, what they didn't know is I have a brand new baby. I'm still breastfeeding, and my husband left me, like up and was out. At that time, that was sort of the era of put up or shut up. And so you couldn't come to work like people come to work now and like, oh my gosh, I'm having a bad day and everyone needs to coddle me. You shut the fuck up and you show up and you show up.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Like show up. I kept my ring on. I was like, we're going to do this. When I got out of that elevator, I would take a deep inhale. I would leave everything in that elevator and I would walk in and like handle my work. End of the day, get in the elevator and brace myself to go home to a child by myself. And so, again, that was another gifting moment from my ex-husband too, because it allowed me the true essence of resilience. And it also allowed me to learn the art of compartmentalizing and the art of hyper-focus. And so I learned how to essentially compartmentalize trauma, which then reared its ugly head down the road. And then you deal with that. But in that moment, it was fight or flight. It was fight or flight. And little did that partner know that my smiles and my happiness was a coping mechanism for me. Because I could have come and been like, look, I'm a single mom. My husband left me. Oh my gosh, I'm miserable. I need to take leave. And they would have been like, no problem, right?
think, yeah.
But instead, I doubled down and I was like, I got a daughter and I'm going to raise a strong woman by being the example of one.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. It's so refreshing because so many of us look at those things that happen and it's like, instead of going down a path of I'm going to double down and I'm going to make this work for me, right? It's the opposite. It's this is why I can pull back and not show up. And this is why poor me, right? The victim mentality that most of us go through when things like that happen. And as Tony it's actually Tony where I heard it first, and Ed Milet says it often, life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you. And all those moments are all happening for us to get to where we want to go. And most of us just shut down in those moments.
I've known that since I was very young, that every shit moment was truly a gift.
Wow.
And I would say if there was any superpower that any of us had, if I were to say I had one or have one, that is it. That in the thick of hell, I am genuinely grateful because I know it's preparing me for something.
That is so good. And I think that is something we can all learn from, right? Every single one of us, because life happens. Shit happens. Things go wrong. I will never forget when I had the whole thing happened in Arizona.
Yeah.
I was literally in my mind, like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm out of real estate. I have no money. And then I remembered my Tony training, right? Hold on, stop. This is all happening for you. Be grateful, right? There's solutions to this. Find a way to double down, find a way to get back.
And you did.
And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here, right? I wouldn't be in this seat right now had that happened. I wouldn't know you had that not happened.
Exactly.
So
but you came out of that quick though. Like you were able to see past that quite quickly. I remember I was on the phone with you during COVID when you were at some of the lowest parts of your.
Oh, you remember my words.
I remember just having so much compassion for you. And I remember one call with you where you were like, you were at your absolute wit's end. And I remember just listening to you and I said, I love you and I know where you're at. I've been there. And you called me 15 minutes later and you were like, Sahar, thank you. I needed that. And you specifically said you buffered the hell of me quite well.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty beautiful of you to do that, to be able to recognize that and to humble yourself, to call me like that. Those are the moments where like my heart really grows big for my clients who then become my family.
Yeah.
Because I've always said about you, you're very comfortable being vulnerable. And that is the essence of confidence.
For sure.
Truly.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with me. I got it all under control. Right. Because that gets us. I've tried that. It just got me really depressed and sad and mad.
Yeah, because you harbor the feelings, right? And they don't naturally process.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Have you always had this energy to you since you were a kid? Have you always had has that always been there?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was bullied as a kid. My sister, she's the lighter version of me, right? I'm this dark Persian, very Persian girl. She's like the girl next door. Fair skin. And so when we came to Iran in the 80s and here we are, these little girls in school, she was widely accepted and I was wholly rejected.
Oh.
And so that's where my running came into play because she was the social butterfly of school and I couldn't catch a friend if you tried. And I was like, it's okay. I'm good. I'm going to run and I'm going to work out and I'm going to do my own thing. And I found comfort in solidarity without becoming depressed, which is truly so hard to do. And I'm watching my daughters struggle with that a lot. And you watch people just, to find comfort in being with yourself is not an easy thing to do.
Right.
Find any adult nowadays, they've either got to have a podcast on, they've got to have music on, they've got to have a phone on them in there. But to just be with you and your breath is very hard.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Very, very hard. Wow. It's humbling to know I was picked on a lot as a kid too. And I found, and Bart was too. You know, it's crazy.
Interesting.
I don't know if you listened to Bart's episode yet, but he was a fat little kid who would get picked on. And I've noticed like it's the ones that went through that I don't want to say everybody, but they just tend to be really good human beings in the future. I think
that's a gift, though.
Yeah.
We had the gift of that.
Right.
To persevere past it. Now, there are the ones that were bullied to the point where then they become so severely depressed.
For sure.
And you have to have compassion on those people as well. And you can't say, hey, listen, like you've adopted victim mentality and you just buried yourself in victim mentality. Like, shame on you. You should have been like me. Can't do that. You have to just go, thank you that I had the ability to persevere past that and to make it a gift, because it is a gift. Everything is a gift. Nothing really goes wrong.
No.
Everything always just goes. You can make it right and you can also make it wrong. But it just goes. Nothing is wrong or right.
Until you make it.
Until you make it. You make it. Your personality dictates your reality, your personal reality.
Oh, that is so good. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's like the one, I don't know where I heard it from, so it's not my quote, but I remember, you know, those aha moments where someone will say something and you're like, that is a permanent tattoo on my brain right now.
That was it.
Your personality dictates your personal reality.
Wow. That is so good.
And I tried to, you know, impress that upon my daughters without sounding too preachy.
Right.
When they come at me with, this is happening to me, I'm not accepted, I am rejected. And I always ask them, like, how are you looking at this? That is how you are experiencing it.
You know, Thatch?
Yeah, of course.
I think about the bead you have. It's the bean. It's
Yeah.
the bean, but the way you put it, it's so good. So you said that you were running, that's when you started running. So is that when you started working out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very early.
Yeah.
Very, very early on. I was a runner my entire life as a little girl. And I was really good at it. And at that time, my parents didn't know what club sports were. They didn't know anything about anything.
Right.
My daughters now have carte blanche to anything they want to do. And I am there with resources and time and investment, you name it. At that time, I was running alongside Marion Jones. I don't know if you remember who she is, but she was a highly acclaimed, fully decorated Olympian. Her awards and medals were stripped from her for the use of steroids. But again, at the time,
Right.
she was my teammate. She was the person I ran with.
You would run with her?
Yeah, we were.
Oh, wow.
We back in the day, you know, sponsorships by certain brands were not what they are now.
Right.
Right. We were sponsored, and I use that term very lightly because if you fact check me, it means something totally different. So, you know, full transparency here. There were certain athletes that were cherry picked from certain parts of the state to be your up and coming prospective potential Olympians, right? I was amongst that elite group.
Oh, wow.
For runners, and I was a sprinter. But I was also a unique hybrid runner. So if they needed someone for the 2-miler, they would throw Sahar in. So I took that training and coupled it with the rejection of, you have no friends, no one's inviting you anywhere. That's okay, because I have to run anyway, and I have to train anyway.
So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's all good. I'm good. My sister's going here and there, and but I have to run, so it's all good. So it was such a coping mechanism, and it was almost like a justification for that. And I found love and peace and meditation through that. Wow. I always say, like, the gym is my church, and specifically running. Running is where I filter through the core and the essence of my cobwebs.
That is so good.
Yeah.
That is so good. I found myself when I started running. I was a fat little kid. And in the 8th grade, I started running. I joined track in the 9th grade. And that's, for some reason, I found myself in the run. So as you're saying that, I put myself there. It's just so incredible that you were running alongside and you were in the lineup for the...
Yeah.
That is so cool. How fast could you run? How fast could you run? What were your
like
sprints?
100-yard dash?
Yeah.
It was way sub 11. I don't remember the exact times, but... Yeah, I had like my name on the wall at the high school.
Oh, so cool. Yeah. And still no friends, though.
No. I had some friends.
Right.
But they weren't very nice to me. And then, but I'll tell you, that's what taught me to keep people at an arm's length distance too. Like, this is not all just glory, right? You learn to have skepticism around relationships and keep people at an arm's length distance, because the essence of your subconscious then develops this, you're going to disappoint me anyway, so let me buffer that by not allowing you to get too close. So I did that, still do with people. Now, the people I draw in, I would give my arm for, I would give my life for.
Right.
But to get super, super close is not the easiest. I've got a lot of friends, I've got a lot of acquaintances, but like to impact the core of my heart requires vulnerability, and I'm still learning that.
Right.
And my last several, I wouldn't say several, my last few intimate relationships still reveal the unhealed parts of that subconscious in me. So, you can essentially reverse engineer the essence of your personality back to your childhood and have everything make sense.
Right.
But to reverse engineer and to peel away those layers is pretty difficult. And again, you have to also understand that you are also imposing projections on that peeling away. I can interpret one thing today, next year interpret it altogether differently, right?
100%.
And so you can't attach yourself to that peeling away either.
Right.
Because it's changing. And it's, again, based on where are you at in your life right now? What's your financial stature? How do you feel about the way you look? Like, all of that is interposed and projected on an interpretation of an event, right?
So good.
And I remember hearing one thing which I thought was just brilliant. And it was Peter Crone who said this. And he said, Sahar, what is the one thing every human is addicted to? He's like, everyone, regardless of age and gender and your wherever you are at life, education, what is the one thing every single human being is absolutely addicted to?
Themselves?
Think again.
Their version of themselves?
You're getting close. I'll tell you what it is. It's your memory. So if you think about this for a second, it's your memory of past events that re-enliven them to the experience that you're having today. So if something bad happened to you yesterday, the only way for you to relive that and have those visceral feelings come about is for your memory to tap into that again, right? Even as kids, they remember X, they remember Y, they remember Z, we go back. But really what you're doing is you're awakening the past, and the past doesn't exist because really all that we have is the present moment.
Right.
All that you truly have is the present moment, the now, and your breath. Like, think about your breath. What grounds you more than your breath? Nothing, because you take a deep breath. That breath is now gone. Can you remember the breath you took beforehand? No, it doesn't matter. What's the one thing that keeps you fully present? It is your breath. So when you are in the state of pure anxiety, ruminating, reliving trauma, if you bring yourself back to the breath, you realize, like, that's not happening right now. I am here. I am now. What happened yesterday is only alive if my memory interposes it again. And there you have it. Wow. So I was a very anxious child, severe anxiety, have panic attacks. My first time went into court, I remember I had to call my dad, and he's like, take a Xanax. And I was like, what's that?
Right.
That's a whole nother subject. By the way, I've never taken it. I mean, that's not true. I have taken it, but I hate it. I'm not into it.
Cut off it immediately.
Yeah, it's not a vibe for me. But breath work, meditation, grounding myself, realizing that rumination is a disease. It doesn't serve me. Your past is a beautiful place for reflection. It is not a place for habitation. It strips you of everything you are right now. It strips you of the present moment. And all we are is the present moment. What is the one thing that your children want from you? Your time. Your time when? Yesterday? Your time now. Right? But if I'm ruminating on something that happened yesterday that pissed me off, and here I am with my daughters, and they're asking me to be present, and they know energetically if I'm not, I'm living somewhere that doesn't exist. So I'm in a false reality, and I'm operating from this fake false reality, wondering why they're not interacting with me in the present moment. It's a domino effect.
100%. And as this gets more deeper and deeper, right? As you're saying this, I find myself at times when I'm talking to my wife and I'm responding to clients, and I'm really not talking to my wife.
they say that when 10, 15, 20 years ago, when the art of multitasking was essentially marketed, it was this great superpower. You can multitask, but really, it's not.
It's not.
Full focused, directed, focused attention, one thing at a time is truly where productivity lies.
So good.
And that's
So
why in
good.
the gym, when you're in your zone, you're in the zone. You've got mind muscle connection. You're there. You're feeling it. Versus your phone's going off. You're fighting with your wife. This guy on the treadmill told you to F off. Like, there's all these things happening. You're so distracted. You don't know what the hell you just did at the gym. You're not
Right.
even sweating. You wasted 2 hours.
Right.
You're behind for a meeting. It's a trickle, but you've multitasked.
You've mastered the art of multitasking.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when a coach told me you need to start multitasking. That was the day I started getting headaches. I never used to get headaches. I never had headaches. And because I understood what blinders, right? Put the blinders on, focus on one
Yeah.
thing at a time, get that done, and then move on. Then this coach is like, you got to learn. You got to be able to do this, and you got to do this. That was, I will never forget, that was the week that I went home with massive headaches, and they didn't leave until I got refocused, until I understood, the breathing work and understanding centering yourself and really getting there, which is so big.
I mean, I multitask to this day, and I'm crazy because I have 2 daughters and a career and massively busy life. And my day starts at 2:45 in the morning and it goes until I drop. But within that insane daily schedule, I still,
Focus.
yeah.
Did you just say 2:45 in the morning?
Yes.
Did we hear that right?
Yes. My day starts at 2:45 in the morning.
Run through that. How
All
does
right.
that work? Because most people are on their
2:45
third
in the
drink.
morning. Yes, I'm up at 2:45 a.m. I do 20 minutes of Wim Hof breath work.
Yep, love Wim Hof.
Yeah, and I do 20 minutes of just music guided meditation, mostly metta, where I can outwardly express gratitude for everything in my life in that moment for that day.
Are you actively
Oh, yeah.
voicing it out loud?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
start
love that.
with, dear universe, God, higher power, source. And I call on my spirit guides, my guardian angels, and I say in the highest truth and compassion, and whatever flows from me flows. And I say with a full and grateful heart, I thank you for, and it comes just whatever comes.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Takes me 20 minutes after I've done my Wim Hof breath work with my Dave Asprey red light therapy. Thank you very much. Because we all need some collagen in our skin.
Yes, we do.
And I do that. And then so that's 2:45 to about 3:30. I go downstairs. I drink my all natural pre-workout. I make my bottles of water for the gym, and I'm out the door and at Lifetime between 4 and 4:10 a.m.
Wow.
And I'm there till 6:30, killing myself.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if you guys, for those of you that go to Lifetime, you know what I'm talking about, but Sahar is a specimen at the gym. I really do. People are like, I go, Sahar, all day long, Sahar.
You're so cute. Thank you. I mean, yeah, it's where I center, I filter, I navigate through my hardest emotions at the gym.
So
So
good.
one of the reasons why I like to get there so early is, one, it's less interaction, right?
yeah.
And if I know I'm going through something and I got to be home by 6:45 to be present for the girls and have my morning tea with them and buffer the beauty of teenage attitudes, my God, my God.
Oh, another podcast.
That's a whole other podcast. That's a therapy session, and I'll be the one that needs therapy. Thank you very much. Yeah, I got to have that time. I have to have that time.
So
I
good.
have to. In order to do what I do, I've got to set myself up.
And how has that helped, not just your relationship with your girls, but the relationship with yourself and work? How has that helped?
It is the foundation for every relationship I have, starting with Sahar.
So good.
Yes.
When did you start doing that?
Working out like that?
That schedule.
30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been a 3 a.m.er if you ask my parents, I've been a 3 a.m.er since I was probably 11.
So are you going to bed at like 6 o'clock at night?
I wish. Sasha plays volleyball. That girl plays volleyball sometimes till 10:45 p.m.
Oh, wow. That is
So
awesome.
I got to have my baby at home. I got to
Yes.
have her fed and in bed. And sometimes that means you're up till 11:30.
3 hours of sleep and you're back at it the next
Yeah.
day.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done this all you've raised the girls and you're a single mom.
I have been a single mom even when I was married, and my ex-husband, who I absolutely adore, will tell you that that is the way it's been. I've raised the girls by myself. Now, with an amazing support system. Right. My mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, my brother-in-law. Amazing support. But from a parental standpoint, I am mom, I am dad.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how has, because I know there's a lot of women and single moms who watch this show, and go through that, because that's not always the easiest, and building a career, and also at times maybe dating life changes because, there maybe is this masculine energy that may or may not follow you, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of, from what I've seen, especially nowadays with women my age, is they lose their feminism in trying to become this masculine. Well, I got to be there for my kids, and I got to build this rock star business. And then they have a hard time meeting anybody because they're just like that person they're meeting. Explain that.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot. So let me start off with going a little bit into the background of the Sasha and Hannah, the girls. And so their dad, Damien, was in the fashion industry and traveled sometimes up into 250 days out of the year.
Oh, wow.
And so single mom was all I knew. Sometimes people will ask me, is it hard to be a single mom? See, I don't know anything different, right? I don't know it different. And the only way to say if something's hard or easy is by virtue of comparison, right? You can't take a child who lives in Africa completely poor and say, is this a hard life? He's going to look at you like, wait, yesterday was hard when we didn't have this, but like in comparison to what? The person who's living in Beverly Hills? You need comparison to understand what's hard and what isn't. This is all I know, right? And so being a single mom, when I had Sasha, my oldest, and then had Hannah, nothing was really different with regard to my relationship with my now ex-husband. He was gone. And when he was here, with all due respect for his own privacy, he had some of his own demons that kept him at bay. Again, he is probably one of my top 3 gifts in my life. Like if I were to write a book, I would credit the entire thankful intro to Damien.
That is awesome.
Because the hell that son of a bitch put me through made me everything that I am today. And I love him, and I would take a bullet for him.
That is so beautiful.
I adore him. So Damien, if you watch this, you know I love you more than anything.
That's so beautiful.
And I want my children to always know how much I love their father. I adore him. So single mom, for me, it was, and to this day, I don't want to feed into like the stereotypes of like, oh, single mom, you can't do it. It was like, single moms can do anything. Like, and I don't really wear like this, like, I am a single mom and I am a lawyer and I am nothing and everything.
Yeah,
I am you and me and I am all of us. We're just bits and pieces of each other.
Yeah.
Everyone's a mirror. So building the career, now Sasha and Hannah, again, another thing I heard was children will never do what you say. They will always do what you do.
Right.
So I wanted to be the essence of like the person who practices what they preach. And I wanted to show the girls that independence is where it's at, right? Financial freedom is where it's at. Like we can level up, we can work, we can do anything that we want to by just doing, right? And the opportunities will come to you. If I set my intention on a certain, lifelong goal, I believe the universe will pave the way and offer me the tools that I need to achieve that, if not better.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so you asked a really good question about the balance between the masculine and the feminine. I'm the first to admit that I've been in my masculine before. Absolutely had to. It's fight or flight. You have to. Right?
Yeah.
You have to. You have to be resilient. You have to weather the storm of a male-dominated profession.
Right.
Raising daughters, right? And doing it by yourself. Again, there's pride involved there. Like I didn't want help from anyone. And if anything, I wanted to be able to want to help. And so with that being said, it was a balancing act where in my 30s, it was far more in my masculine, whereas now I'm far more in my feminine. And the balance of working smarter versus working harder has matriculated over time. Whereas before it was grind.
Go.
Grind until you cannot, and you just go, right? Necessary for the time. I don't regret any of this.
Right.
It was necessary for my own personal evolution to where now, thank God, I see my children as much as a stay-at-home mom does.
That's awesome.
And I have the profession and the ability to make money the way a full-time man does. Right. I have the best of both worlds, genuinely. Now, romantic relationships, again, I've been blessed. I've had great humans in my life.
Right.
Really beautiful people in my life. Like, it's hard to be with a woman who is successful, who knows what she wants, who is who she is, and also knows who she is and doesn't really need anything. But just because you don't need doesn't mean you don't want, right?
Sure.
And I've learned that it's actually quite endearing to express a need and allow people to help you. And again, that's something I'm also learning.
Yeah. What are you learning through that? Because I'm assuming you're not the only person who struggles with that.
Yeah.
Right. What have you been learning?
I'm learning that codependency is a real thing for successful women. And I didn't even understand what codependency was until somebody broke down the definition, which is you give to your detriment and you find self-worth and value in giving. And so when you're in a place of giving and you validate yourself through giving, when someone actually doesn't need, you then become almost insecure and exposed. But they don't need me, but I have to be able to give.
Right.
Whereas in a balanced relationship, there is an element of codependency because you want to nurture each other, right? But there's
Right.
also a beauty in receiving. And why, if I love giving and I find peace, comfort, and validation in that, my counterpart should deserve to feel that way too.
Right.
And there's beauty in that. And there's a beauty in saying, I could really use your help right now. Whereas before it was like, I will need no one.
I got this on my
Watch
own.
me.
Wow.
No, I need nothing from no one. And I know my mom and dad have watched me kind of like, oh, here she goes again. She's got to do it on her own. Like when I go out of town and my mom steps in, she's like, I got to hire 4 people to manage your schedule. And it's true. And she really means it. And it is insane. But I'm learning to allow.
So good.
It's an evolution
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. It's out of all the things that I hear you say, like in my mind, I'm like, she's got to figure it out. But you're still learning. It's never ending.
Oh, I'm a
right?
student till death.
Till death.
Till death.
And I think that's the essence of life, right? I was listening to Ryan Holiday's book. He did a book for dads. It's so good.
Oh, you just posted it, yeah.
And he talked about that. He talked about how we need to really impress into our kids that school is just, it never ends. So most kids think that graduation is this big step to life because we don't go to school.
Right.
And we haven't embodied that. No, you still learn. Just because you don't hear the bell ring every day, that doesn't mean that you don't check in to go to school. That doesn't mean that you're not learning. It doesn't mean that you're not taking the next step to find out what is next and learn what is next. And so many of us finish high school or finish college and that's it.
Right.
I don't need to.
Right.
I don't need to read that book. I don't need to listen to that.
Right.
I got it all figured out.
Right.
Right.
Well, you know me. I've got my nose in a book 24/7.
Yeah.
I'm an avid reader. My therapy is my books. I mean, wellness and spirituality and all things universe come through the exposure that I've had through some of the most amazing authors. And you and I have exchanged books so many times.
Right.
But learning and reading, one of my daughters doesn't like to read, and it's like, oh, it's like a knife in my heart. Please, please, may you change that. But again, it's your journey.
It'll happen.
It'll happen.
I wasn't an avid reader.
Really?
No, not at all. I hated
You
reading.
became one.
Yeah, I had to. Well, I don't say I had to. I realized that success left clues, right? And I just got to follow the clues. And one thing I found from very successful people is that they read. They were either listening to audiobooks or they were, at the time it would be cassette tapes, right?
Right.
Because I remember my dad had a bunch of cassette tapes. And my dad wasn't a reader, but he would listen, right? And then it was either listening or reading. And so as I got older, I would just challenge myself, go, okay, 20 books this year. Okay, 52 books this year. Okay, 40 books this year, right? Let's just try it. Let's go for it. So now it's like, if I can do 52 books in a year, right? That was what I used to think. And now it's like, okay, what if I'm going back to all of those books because I think I went through them so fast. I was trying to get through 52.
Yeah.
I didn't get to absorb of what was in there. So now I'm going back to a lot of those books and going, okay, what did I really learn here? What did I really hear here?
Yeah.
Right. So it's beautiful.
I've got about 6 books that are annual visits.
What are those?
So, The Seat of the Soul
Seat of the Soul
by Gary Zukav. Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness, does that teach you reverence and intention setting?
Okay.
And it also is the mirror inside responsibility and taking ownership for your experience in life. Incredible. The Abraham Hicks Law of Attraction. Love
hands down.
speaks for itself. Love Returns by Marianne Williamson.
I haven't read that one.
So good.
Yeah.
Yes, so good. A New Earth, Eckhart Tolle, which brings me into the present moment. Amazing. Have you read that?
No.
Adrian,
No, I'm now going to though. It's
you
fine.
need this book in your life.
All right, I'm on it.
Mindset. Who's the author?
I don't know. I haven't read that one either.
It'll come to me. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. And then the books by the Hispanic author who I love so much. He wrote The Mastery of Love,
Pablo. Is it? Yeah.
Yes,
Yes. How cool.
The Mastery of Self, Mastery
Yes,
of
Master
Love.
Yourself. Yeah.
Those are my revisits,
I love that.
annual revisits.
So good.
Fabulous books.
You talked about parenting and Hannah and Sasha. Beautiful, beautiful girls that you have.
Thank you.
And I get to see their life on Instagram. I've recently become a parent and I've realized it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. God bless my wife.
He's
Kellyanne.
still a baby.
Yeah,
Just wait.
He's only 8 months old, and I don't
Just
know
wait.
how my wife does it. Like I go home and I'm like, yeah, I'm going back outside.
For real.
She's like, I've been here all day. What do you mean? You've been here for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You didn't have a chance to go outside.
No.
How did you navigate that? And for the parents that are listening, like I just dissect that a little bit because there was so much that you've taught me about that.
That is the money question. For you to be able to recognize that you have that yin and yang dynamic of being able to pass the ball, but to see that I didn't have that makes me love you even more. Now, let me tell you why. When you're a single parent, and again, I have the art of comparison because my sister's children are like the extensions of myself. They're like my children. And her husband and Nassim and Casey, husband and wife, live 0.8 miles away from me in Moulton Ranch. I'm in Ellie Gale.
Right there.
Her 2 boys are like my kids, right? The art of comparison comes through husband and wife dynamic raising 2 boys. And here I am, Sahar, mommy and daddy embodied in one mom, raising Sasha and Hannah. So my decisions and my fuck ups are so magnified because if I'm in a weak place, if I'm not the best version of myself and those projections come through in my decision making, that impact is twice/tenfold on Sasha and Hannah. Because I don't have the husband who may have stepped away from parenting and has a fresh pair of eyes to come in and say, babe, listen, let me take over, right?
Right.
So I got to be on, and I got to be on all the time, right? Because if I choose to move their schools, if I choose to say yes to them, if I choose to say no, if I choose to discipline them, if I choose to lecture them, if I choose to anything them, I better be damn sure that I'm on my A game because there's no buffer and there's no passing the ball. That impact and that decision is permanent. And so I don't have the luxury of saying, let me go talk to your dad. Because I've had a long day at work and I've had some shitty clients and I'm not the best version of myself. It's, what do you need? I'm here, whether I've had a good day or not.
Right.
And so it's exhausting. But again, from a practical standpoint, I don't know anything different. But from a cross-reference and a comparison to like watching Nassim and Casey, it's very different. And that's one thing I try to impress on my sister a lot when she's like, if I were you, I'm like, babe, listen, hold on.
Right.
You can't, right? Because you're not me. I'm not you. You can't step into my shoes.
Right.
You can compassionately offer me your lending ear, but it's so different where you are versus where I am. And I'm not in the role of a victim here.
Right.
It's an empowered role, right? I don't have a crabby husband to come home to. I don't have a husband who just lost his job. I don't have any of those components either, right? But to offer advice, I've learned one thing: keeping my mouth shut is a superpower. Listening, opening my ears, and being quiet is genuinely the biggest gift I can give to someone.
So good.
And with regard to parenting and being a single parent, and I'm sure single moms who work and have intense schedules will tell you that when they make a decision and when they're having a moment, Adrian, you have no idea. We just got back. Me and the girls just got back from a beautiful vacation in Kona. And my youngest, Hannah,
test the boundaries.
very fortunate to come back alive. I was like, am I going to get off this island alive right now? Like, I don't know if we're coming off this island alive. Again, it was a gift. That's a whole nother podcast. But you're in it and you don't have these moments of like, let me step away and have someone else come in.
Right.
No, I've had great men in my life and I've had great relationships in my life who have been part and parcel with me with regard to the girls. And I've had a lot of love come at them from those relationships. But yeah. It's a full-time, eyes wide open, sometimes sleep with one eye open job.
And you're able, in any moment from what I've seen, you're still able to meet the next person with a smile on your face and leave whatever was going on there. How do you do that? Because that I have a very hard time with.
Yeah, we've talked about this at the gym, you and I.
Yeah.
I would say I'm extremely conscientious and mindful, not always. I would say 90% of the time of not punishing someone else for another person's or my own BS. And so when I come upon a person or an experience or an event or an anything, I really want to meet that moment in the present moment. So I connect to my breath and I try to leave that moment or that person feeling better than when I first interacted with them. I could have a lot of shit going on, and I can still find those moments to pull myself together and be fully present. And again, I credit that to my experiences at that law firm when Damien left and I had no other choice. I had a choice. My choice was to do that, right? And so I flexed that muscle enough to where I've gotten really good at it. That's probably my strongest muscle, is being able to like, take a deep breath, let's go.
So good.
And not fake it till you make it.
Right.
But to truly just be like, this is this moment and I'm leaving it right here because there's not a damn thing I can do to change it. And I'm going to meet this moment with a fresh breath and a fresh pair of eyes so that I can experience it for what it is in its unadulterated version. I owe that to myself. It's a gift to myself. It's not just that I'm gifting the counterpart with the gift or with the ability to be present. It's, hey, I deserve that moment myself.
Right.
I deserve that moment myself, to be able to sit there and to experience it for what it is, because truly I could sit and ruminate and bring into this podcast right now a fight I just had with my oldest daughter.
Right.
And that whole podcast can be a therapy session for Sahar, right? And I can leave you with a wonderful migraine.
Right.
But really, why?
Right.
Why? I get to experience you with the essence of a fresh pair of ears, first and foremost,
Right.
and eyes. I deserve that.
So good. I love that you said, I'm not faking it till I make it, because so many of us are, let's just put a smile on our face for this moment. Let's just fake whatever we got going on. Let's put it on the back burner, right? It's like on a pause.
Yeah.
And we get out of it where, oh yeah, hi, you know, smiley face, and back to that negative, mad situation. Wow. I just learned so much. That was awesome. That was so
You're
good.
awesome.
So you've gone through Compton, you've gone through fast pacing to this attorney that is a rock star to single mom. I'm just dying to know, what is next for Sahar?
Whatever comes.
Oh, that is so good.
Whatever comes. I can't tell you what's lurking around the corner 6 hours from now. I have stopped projecting on 5-year plans, 4-year plans, 3. Why? Look at the world we're living in right now. Pre-COVID, could you have foreshadowed this?
Nope.
No. Right? Before I planned that vacation to Kona with my lovely, beautiful daughters, could I have foreshadowed what that experience would have brought me? Absolutely not. No way. Right now is where it's at. What comes next? Whatever comes. And I'm ready for it.
It's been the best answer yet. Wow. Whatever comes.
Whatever comes.
And you're going to approach whatever comes in the best version of you.
I'll tell you why. If everything happens for a reason, right, and it's all intended for our own evolution, that means we are fully equipped to handle it.
Right.
So why am I going to stress about it? I've already got the tools in the toolbox. I'm fully equipped. Give it to me.
Oh, that was so good. I was expecting, you to tell me this beautiful, I don't know, next home or something crazy, but no, it's whatever
comes.
Whatever comes. And I'm going to be the best version of myself, however that comes.
Because I'm fully equipped. So bring it. Give it to me.
Oh my God, that is so good. That is so good. With somebody that they hear this and they go, okay, I get it. I mean, this sounds great, but you just don't understand what goes on in my head. How do you expect me to, how do I do this? How do I do this?
Oh, I love that question. I love that question because I asked that question many, many times over many, many years. And I'll tell you, I know the answer. And the answer is the work is in the awareness. That's it. That is it. How do you become more peaceful? How do you become more resilient? How do you become more successful? The awareness, just the awareness of where you're at. I'm aware of my anxiety. I am aware that I'm dealing with some shit. I am aware that I'm not going to bring this into that and penalize this for that and cause a domino effect. The healing and the work is in the awareness.
So good.
That's it.
So once someone becomes aware of it, what do we do next?
Nothing. It does it for you because once you're aware of something, it takes its own natural migration, right? Like we talked about the other day when I was on the stair climber.
Right.
And we talked about how do I, whatever it was that we talked about. Right. And I said, Adrian, once you're aware of it, right, you're going to flex the muscle of becoming aware of it before it causes the turmoil, right? So there's that space between the thought and the reaction, right? And the bigger the distance, the more growth you perceive and you experience, right? So first I was triggered and I reacted, shit, I didn't like it. Cool, you recognize it. Because I always tell Sasha and Hannah, it's not in your F-ups, it's in your recovery. Everything is in your recovery. If you are expected not to fuck up, you're going to fuck up.
You're so good.
Right? It's in your recovery. How did you recover? Right? And so then, once you give yourself the freedom to like mess up, knowing that the essence of your growth is in your recovery, you are going to invest in your recovery. And when you invest in your recovery, you're going to fuck up less. Why? Because you have that correlation in this beautiful mind of yours, knowing exactly where that F-up's going to take you, and you get to choose if you want that experience. The awareness.
All right, so let's cancel the therapy sessions I have because I don't think I need them anymore.
They call us counselors.
That
right?
was freaking awesome. That is so good. And it's you're right, because I remember what I asked you. I go, how do you there's times where I'd be super stressed out or super frustrated or I get angry at a situation. And then I notice that my wife will say something and and it carries me. But I am aware of it. I remember you telling me just the fact that you're aware of it. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And you didn't even tell me anything next. It was just the awareness.
The awareness.
That is so good.
It's a muscle flexing opportunity, truly, when you're aware, because you'll be able to foreshadow, like, I know where this is going to take me if I react. I'm aware of it. So that distance goes like this, right? And then you create a bigger gap between the thought and the reaction. You get to choose your reaction, and your reaction will dictate your experience. And that's where your power comes into place. Wow. And that's where you relinquish the notion that someone else and something else is in control. You can choose to have a shit moment, and that's okay. How did you recover? I ask the girls this all the time. Hannah's in this place of trying to prove herself to me. And she'll be like, I had such a bad moment with you yesterday. I said, no. That was a beautiful opportunity for you to recover, and your recovery was so damn good. We are not talking about the mess up. We are talking about the recovery. And she's like, whew. I see her. She moves into parasympathetic nervous, like she's chill. Okay, I can do this. Yeah, because that motivation, nothing keeps you more motivated to work out than results.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Same thing with mental and spiritual growth, right? I used this methodology and it gave me this experience. I tried this and it kept me here. Where is your recovery?
That's so good. That is so good. For somebody that is... that may need some words of encouragement or just something that comes to your heart to leave the viewers and listeners with, just if there was one thing that came to your heart.
So the first thing that would come to my mind is that we are all mirror reflections of one another. All of us. You are a mirror of me. If you see the good in me, it's because the essence and the good in you is highlighted for you. If you critique me and you only find my flaws, I bless you because you're having a hard time with yourself. So to be able to see yourself in another will forever keep you compassionate. That's it.
Sahar, you are a light. You are a blessing. You are a beautiful soul. I am walking away from this podcast as a better human being because of you. And I just want to thank you so much. I absolutely love you. You guys... go back and rewatch this. Take as many notes as you possibly can. I know Timmy, we got to get this. I need the recording stat. For people that want to get a hold of you, that want to know more about Sahar, how can they get I know you shared your phone number, but how can they get a hold of you?
Again, my phone number is the best way to reach me. Instagram, yep.
What's your handle?
Sahar_Sheda. So that's at SAHAR_SHEIDA.
I love it.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that you pull from knowing me, right? I'm going to be selfish a little bit.
Ooh, I love this.
What's one thing you would tell me on getting better and just being an overall better human being?
Adrian, I don't say this to you to fluff your feathers.
Yeah.
I'm your lawyer. I keep it real. You know that.
1,000%.
Okay? Your ability to be vulnerable and your ability to remain in the seat of the student with everyone you interact with, and believe me, I'm a good judge of character and I watch and notice everything. You are the most inquisitive person I know. That is so beautiful. Stay there. Stay there.
You touched my soul today. I absolutely
Likewise.
love you. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in today's podcast. Sahar, thank you for being here. We're gonna have you back just to talk about like attorney stuff and stuff with law, and especially with the real estate, because I know there's a lot of questions in regards to that. And I know a few of you that knew I was having this podcast and had me or asked me to ask certain questions. But today I wanted to get to know Sahar. I wanted you to get to know Sahar before we dived into the legal side of it. So I would love to have you back if that's okay.
Oh, it would be my honor.
That is so awesome.
Love you.
Love you. You guys, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. If you haven't done so already, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you share this channel with someone you know. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, do me a favor, leave a 5-star review. We're actually going to be doing a massive campaign towards the end of the year. Whoever left a review, we're going to be giving you away something really, really neat. But nonetheless, guys, this channel grows by word of mouth. So if you could do me a favor, share this with someone you know, family member, friend, someone you love. Sahar, thank you again.
Thank
Appreciate
you, Adrian. Love you.
See you guys on the next episode. Let's go.